So, this is going to be part 1 to what if Deku had Divine Divide. So with that being said, let's just roll the intro.
They took it to 10. Let me tell you how I come through with the 1-2, kicking shit like kung fu. Treat a bad bitch like she average. I'm a savage, no hoe, what you want do? I'm about cash if the raw fast. I'ma get that little nigga by any means.
Alright, so there's a few things I want to go through before we get into the what if. If this video gets 50 likes within the day, I'll do part 2 tomorrow. And alright, with that being said, let's get into the actual abilities of the Divine Divide Sacred Gear. So it is basically the opposite to Boosted Gear, which is the Red Dragon Emperor's Sacred Gear, right? So what Divine Divide does, it basically divides people's power in half and gives it to the user. So instead of multiplying your power by 2, it divides someone else's power by 2, and it gives it to the user every 10 seconds. So you can see how powerful that is, right? He would also have this dividing property could also apply to objects in a specific area and like just general things around him. This ability is called a half dimension, and he has a stronger version of this called compressor divider, or divider compressor, or compression divider. I forgot the name, but basically what it does is that it keeps dividing something until it's out of existence, right? So it also has the scale mail that or the boosted gear, not the boosted gear, the balance breaker scale mail that the boosted gear also has. So yeah, the way its appearance is a lot different than the boosted gear. The boosted gear is a gauntlet, while Divine Divide has wings, right? It has blue wings with kind of energy or feathers made out of energy, right? That's how it's different. That's a difference, right? So we're gonna make it where normally when Deku goes to, or a few days before Deku goes to the quirk doctor, right? So in these few days, this is when his sacred gear would manifest, and it would be Divine Divide. So he would have these kind of blue, or these white wings with blue energy coming through him, and he would think like, wow, is this my quirk? Is it some sort of like flying quirk, right? So when they go to the quirk doctor, they actually find out that his power is actually to divide the power of other things, and with also the added benefit of flying, right? So when he gets back to school, he would tell Bakugo about this, and he would be so like, both of them would be kind of shocked, or not both of them, he would be shocked that Deku got kind of a powerful quirk with kind of a bonus thrown in there with the flight. So one day it would be Bakugo kind of bullying some kid, and Deku's watching this, and something in the back of his mind is asking him like, what do you want to be? What do you want to use this power for? And Deku's just thinking like, I want to be a hero. And the person who's actually talking to him is the heavenly dragon Albion, the person that's, or the dragon that's within the sacred gear. And as he says like that he wants to be a hero, Albion tells Deku, go and show him, save that kid using my power, the power to rival those of the gods and Satan. So this is when Deku stands up for the kid that Bakugo bullies at the beginning of the anime. So Bakugo would basically say, what do you want, Deku? Why do you want to defend this kid? Because I think he would still call him Deku out of like jealousy of his quirk, and how the reason why he doesn't in canon, because it's like a play on words in his like name and how it's written. So I think he would still get that nickname. And basically what Deku would do is that he says, I want to be a hero when I grow up, so I need to defend those who need help. And this is when Bakugo will be like, oh yeah, then try to defend him. And this is when he would go for a punch with an explosion behind it, and Deku would be able to use divine divide on him. Basically, all you would hear is his sacred gear go like divide, and then like it would glow for a second, like his wings, and his punches and explosions would be divided in half, and it would really not doing anything to Deku. And Deku in this one I think would be more confident since he has a quirk, and he would be able to fight back Bakugo pretty easily since he divided his power in half and gave him the power, right? So this is kind of how the relationship kind of started between the two, right? They don't really have a good relationship. They don't really like each other, so I don't think they're gonna be friends in this what if. They're not gonna be I guess they're kind of rivals, but it's kind of like a one-sided rivalry between Bakugo and Deku. Since Deku doesn't really care about Bakugo, he really doesn't like him. So throughout the years, I think Deku would start to understand Albion a bit more, and Albion would teach him how to use his sacred gear more effectively, and he would tell him to like train his body so he could build up his stamina, because this particular sacred gear is very draining when it comes to scale mail, which is the kind of balance breaker. So Deku would train on his body a lot since he doesn't have that kind of like bonus of being like half devil. So that's what he would do until middle school, or the end of middle school, and we get to the kind of beginning of the anime. So it would be that point in the anime where they're in class and the teacher says that there are two students that want to, or that are applying to UA, and the two are Bakugo and Deku, right? And I would say that Deku in this one would be pretty popular because of his quirk and how he sticks up for people because he wants to be a hero. So people really like him because of that. And yeah, so people are basically they're kind of like encouraging Deku to, you know, try his best at the entry exams, right? Because they want him, they're kind of rooting for him, right? And this is when Bakugo comes up to him and basically kind of threatens him, like, you think you could get into UA with that stupid quirk of yours? Not a chance. And this is when he would like use his explosions to kind of like burn up his notebook, just how he does in the anime. So Deku's like, yeah, okay, if I can't get into UA, then you have no chance of getting in. And this really pisses off Bakugo, and he's like, what did you say, nerd? And he would basically stand up to him and said, you heard what I said. I said, if I can't get in, there's no way you can get in, because your quirk is weaker than mine. And this is when Bakugo will be like, you want to take this outside and fight? And Deku's like, we've done this so many times. No matter what you do, I could just half your power. And Bakugo just like, he kind of steps down, right? Because he knows it's true. And kind of just says, yeah, whatever. And he kind of walks away. So Deku would still go through his normal kind of basic what's it called, he goes through the shortcut that he usually would go in the anime, right? And this is when the slime villain actually attacks. So in this one, Deku does know his balance breaker at this point, but he's not really used to it. He's only recently started using it, right? So when the slime villain comes, what he does is that he uses half dimension on him to basically shrink him and take away his like strength, right? So that he's only like a puddle by the time he tries to attack him. And as he's doing this, he's in his like sacred gear, or his balance breaker, I mean. So this is when All Might would come, like, I am here. And All Might would see this person, this kind of dragon mech kind of person there, and he would be like, whoa, are you some sort of like pro hero? And this is when Deku would deactivate his balance breaker but leave the wings, and he would basically say, no, I'm just a regular student, but this villain attacked me and I had to defend myself. And basically what would happen is that All Might would be like, wow, kid, you did such a great job, what's your quirk? And this is when Deku's like kind of trying to think of a name for it, so he just calls it divine dividing. And he says he could basically divide anyone's power and add it to his own. And All Might's like, wow, that's a pretty strong power. Are you trying to get into are you trying to become a hero again, and are you going to UA? And he would be like, yeah, I'm actually applying to go to do the entry exams pretty soon. And All Might's like, well, I could tell that you have a great future and you'll probably make it in. So in this one, he doesn't grab on to All Might as he does in the anime, because he's more confident, and yeah, right, he doesn't need to. So we get to in this 10 months of training, what Deku would probably do is that he would basically try to build up his stamina, and he would basically use his balance breaker as long as he can, as long as he could, to kind of build up that tolerance to it. And he would use his half dimension more often to kind of like see the extent to it. And the way that he would do, he would go to the beach, right, where all that trash is at, and he would use his half dimension to kind of shrink it. He would do this every day until one day it just kind of just disappeared, right? And this is when he unlocks his new ability, compression divider. I believe that's what it's called. The one where you just divide something until like it just disappears forever. So he has that kind of move now. So when we get to the day of the entry exams. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but the wiki says that when he uses his scale mail or the balance breaker, these can fly to the speed of light, or at the speed of light. So I'm not gonna make them that fast, because anything that's at the speed of light in My Hero is basically way too overpowered at this point. So I'm gonna kind of nerf that in a way, but not too much. I'm gonna say he's around either All Might level or prime All Might level in terms of speed. So yeah. So I don't think he would trip, because he's not nervous at all, really. He's very confident, and he basically just walks in, takes his seat. Turns out he's sitting right next to Bakugo. He's not really like giving Bakugo any attention, and Bakugo's kind of mad at this, that he's not really acknowledging that he's there. But he doesn't say anything about it, really. He's just kind of irritated. So they just do their test in silence, and I think Deku would do around the same that he does in the anime. So when they get to the practical part of the exam, basically right when President Mike says go, this is when Deku would just use his balance breaker, go around the robots, and kind of just use I believe he could still use divide on them. Oh, and if I didn't mention before, divide does have a limit, and the limit is that how much the user can take. But if the user takes more energy than he could like withstand, then the energy would just flow out the back of his wings. So he will always be at his peak performance. And yeah, so he could still continue to take away power from people. So this is basically what he would do. He would just use divide on the robots and kind of just use like his ability to fly to kind of just smash robots as he's flying, because the what's it called, the balance breaker improves basically everything about you. At least the scale mail does. It basically increases your power and abilities and speed, right? So he'd be able to break robots pretty easily. So he would rack up a bunch of points, right? At a certain point, he would just kind of just stop and wait for other people to get theirs, because he doesn't want to take everyone's points, because he's that nice of a guy. And this is when he hears a scream in the distance, and he doesn't know what that is. And he sees people running away, and he's like, what's happening? And he goes over there, and he sees this girl screaming, and it's Uraraka or Ochako who's screaming, and he sees the giant robot that's happening, or that's about to like come nearer. So without really thinking, he rushes towards the robot, using half dimension on him to kind of shrink him, and he just basically kind of rams through him, almost like the fight against King Piccolo and Goku in Dragon Ball, but not in the chest, but like in the head, right? And this is when he would, fly down after he defeated the robot, and he would go up to Uraraka, removing the rubble from her, and he would ask if she's okay. And this is when the timer actually runs out, and recovery lady or recovery girl comes and kisses Uraraka so she could heal her. And Uraraka basically thanks Deku and asks for his name, and he says, my name is Izuku Midoriya. And she's like, well, mine's Uraraka, or Ochako Uraraka, right? So he would kind of like, or later on in the day, this is when he would be at home, and Albion would be talking to Deku like, so it looks like we did pretty good. Do you think that or he'd be like, Deku would ask him like, it seemed like we did pretty good. What do you think we made it in? And Albion would just basically say like, yes. You have the power of the White Dragon Emperor. Of course you made it in. They'd be stupid not to bring you in. And Albion would ask about Uraraka. He'd be like, it seems like you took a liking to that girl. Are you gonna do anything about it? And you guys can tell me if you want some sort of ship in this. So yeah. And Deku's like, I don't know yet. Right? He doesn't really get flustered because he's more confident, right? So this is when the letter from UA comes through, and he opens it up, and this is when the projector comes through, and it's All Might basically saying that not only did you get the top score, but you also got some hero points. Good job, Midoriya. Welcome to the Hero Academia. Right? And Deku's like, he's very excited, right? He's like, yes. Because it's basically been his dream to go to UA. So I think I'll end it here, and then in the next episode, which could be tomorrow, we'll go through the hero, the quirk assessment, and then the heroes versus villains kind of test, and then maybe part of the USJ, depending if I have enough time and how long that video is. So remember, I'm part of the Sins right now, my group called the Sins. So there's some videos up on the channel Sins, and remember to just subscribe to each of them. So with that being said, this is going to be the end of the video. So yeah,